Dort. Down to Dort. This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to dunk. This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
I'm Josh Giddey, and I'm down to dunk. Hey, this is Kenny Hustle, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Darius Baisley, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Mike Muscala, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Poku, and I'm down to dunk.
I love cereal. Captain Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cracklin' Oats Bran.
Oh, I can have these. I'm going to share with my team, but I'm going to hog most of them.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlechter, part of the Athletic Podcast Network. Luke quit the pod. Jay quit the pod. It's the...
No, Luke quit the pod. Jay got fired.
That's right. It's the Slam Through and Tayshawn show. Tayshawn.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us.
You and I.
Okay. I didn't know how long we were
Slam
going to
through.
go. Yeah. When's the last time it was just you and I? Probably a COVID pod.
Well, we've done podcasts with just you and me over the yard.
That's true. Yeah.
Over StreamYard, but not
Not
I don't
in
know.
person ever, maybe.
I'm sure it has. We've done.
It's been too long.
We've done literally more than 1,000 podcasts, so it's probably been this way before.
That's true. You true.
So we had Thunder news drop this week, including the Chip England news. Chip England.
Yep, that's big news.
What are your thoughts on the Chip England hiring?
I love it. I think it's like, something that the Thunder, and I get, okay, let me start over. The Thunder have this reputation in my mind that they're not really about like hiring the big name coaches, big name staff.
They hired Mark Daigneault, and still nobody knows who he is.
Yeah.
And he's been coaching them for 2 years.
Right. But like the Billy Donovan thing, I remember when we were talking about that, I thought there's no way that's going to happen because a big name college coach is not going to be the Thunder coach. Like, I just have that way of thinking about them, So then when you get these two guys that come in and Sam Hinkie's tweeting about Rosman.
Yeah.
And then all these people are talking about Chip England, and it feels strange.
Yeah.
It feels strange.
It does feel strange. The Chip one feels especially strange.
Yeah.
That all these years, what has been the thing that has plagued the Thunder the most?
I know.
It's that they have guys that don't shoot. And now they're obviously, and it's
they might have guys that don't shoot, but they might get better.
Yeah. You hate to say they haven't prioritized shooting, because I think that if you had a chance to talk to like Sam or somebody, they would tell you all the ways that they did prioritize it. But this is just such like a forward-facing way to prioritize it that it just like could not be ignored. Also, the way his name is spelled, England, reminded me of that scene from Austin Powers. I'm going to try to play it here. I don't have it plugged into my computer, but I have it on my phone here.
That's good.
Call the president. Sir. Prepare the jet. Bring my overnight bag. And, Phillips, eat my fish. Not too much. I'm off to London, England.
That was the first thing I thought whenever I thought of Chip England. He's like double L spelling. Maybe my thing. I'll go around the concourse of the Thunder games and ask them to spell Chip England's name.
That's a good idea. No one will get it right.
Will anybody get the double L? Probably not.
The E and the double L is a big
Yeah.
one. How much so a tweet came, I'm not going to talk about it, but a tweet came up and we were talking about it in the podcast text, right?
Yeah.
And basically there's this idea that these big execs, they're here now. Chip England, Rosman. There's guys at Thunder are trying to build it. They're trying to build something serious organizationally and the product on the floor. What kind of money are we talking about with these guys? Do we have any idea?
I have no clue.
Like a shooting coach that has that name, like what? The most valued shooting coach in the league?
He's got to be the highest.
Staff?
He has to be the highest paid assistant coach on the team.
It's got to be, right?
He would have to be.
Yeah.
And then Rosman is, I mean, he's a VP now. He's basically like their director of scouting.
Mm-hmm.
Is what his title essentially is.
But it is not. What is his literal title?
It's of intelligence and something
In
else.
in future sequences.
It is well, and they actually filled. Oh, I cannot get this. I cannot get that to stop. It is the identification and intelligence. Yeah, VP of identification and intelligence. So, and it's a position that they had previously had filled. So this is not like a new position that they're creating for him. This was a position that was held by Will Dawkins 2 years ago.
Okay.
And they promoted Will Dawkins to VP of basketball ops. So this is, and that's what he did. He was the Sixers draft guy. I've had people reach out to me about that know him well. And they're like, oh, you're going to really love Vince. Like, he's the best.
So Adam Sandler plays Vince. He's the character.
Yeah, he's
Vince
kind of
in the movie.
Yes, he's kind of the Vince Rosman of the Sixers.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they're paying these guys a lot, but these are also two guys that you kind of have to think of as like very loyal people, because Vince Rosman was with the Sixers through like 6 GMs or maybe even 7 GMs, which is a lot. Like, most guys don't survive that, number one.
Yeah.
That like tells you the kind of worker and the kind of person that he is. And then 2, like, he's loyal, like has been loyal. And the Thunder value that a lot. They want people that are going to be here for the long haul. I think that's part of like why they hired Mark. Like, Mark has been with the organization for a long time, even before he became the head coach. And I think the hope is that that Mark is here for a long, long time, that he develops as a coach and kind of grows into the position. And so, yeah, and they've got guys that have been around the league for a long time, but just been with one organization. Like, that's a big deal to them. And they hope to have those guys around for a long time. So, yeah.
No, I think it's great. I think it's awesome. It is exciting. When you're really into the team, hires like this excite you 50% of like a big name player.
The Rosman one is like whatever. Like, how are we really going to know the impact he's going to have? He was like credited with drafting Tyrese Maxey, which is good. But still, it's still a shot in the dark as to if these guys are going to be great in the 20s. And maybe Vince Rosman helps them find the next great Thunder player in the next like 2 or 3 drafts. And if he does, great hire. If they just draft normally, it's like, what, like, we don't know like what Vince really did. And we may not know, because he's not going to be a forward facing person in the organization. Like, really the only forward facing person in the organization is Sam, and like everything just kind of funnels through him, where like success and failure falls on his shoulders, which is just the way that it's set up. And that's okay. But it's cool knowing like they have good people in the background, helping and scouting and doing all that for them. But yeah, the chip one it's so significant. It allows your fan brain to go to places that you never thought existed.
It's a dangerous area in my mind.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, Lou Dort's 40% 3-point shooter now, right?
Who's the most important guy? It's probably Giddey.
It's Giddey.
Giddey gets to 37.
If Giddey gets to 35, then it's just like a guy that you're like, okay, we have to close out on Josh Giddey.
Yeah.
That changes everything.
It really does.
It changes absolutely everything.
Does Giddey's shooting improving change how you think of Giddey and Shai's roles next to each other?
Yeah, without a doubt. Because if you don't have to guard Giddey and you only have to guard him when the ball's in his hands, it makes things like way more complicated, because you want the ball in Shai's hands, or you want it. It's already complicated.
Yeah.
But it's more complicated if he can't shoot. And we haven't had to even think about the issues this team would have in the playoffs yet. But they would have massive issues with Josh Giddey in the playoffs if he is like the player he is now going into the playoff. Like they would have big time issues with him. You know, Chris Paul turnaround, disrespectfully not guarding him issues. And if he just becomes a passable shooter, you know, it's a huge deal. I mean, you look at like Tony Parker. Like Tony Parker was never a great shooter. He was a career 32% from three. But in his time at San Antonio, like he had years where he shot 42% from three and 37, 35. If he could just do that.
Yeah.
You know,
well, even in the mid-range,
deal.
I mean, Tony Parker killed people with mid-range
True.
pull-ups.
Yeah.
You know, and Josh Giddey is he could just get to wherever he is on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So even mid-range jumpers for a guy like Josh Giddey would change a lot. Would change a lot for him.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's step one. When you're in the middle and you get to a spot and you have a pull-up, can you hit that?
Yeah.
You know, threes, okay, we'll take them when we get them.
He's got to hit threes.
He has to hit threes, I know.
If you're a guard or a wing, you got to hit threes.
Yeah. Who's next after Giddey? Most important.
I mean, honestly, if I were to make a ranking, I would put Shai next.
Okay. But you don't trust Shai's shooting?
I mean,
last year was kind of, what was he last year? 32?
No, he was 30.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But he had like a close to a 40 year, right?
He was 41% the previous year. He's a career 34.8% three-point shooter.
Okay, maybe he could get some more.
And
but that's also like a lot of pull-up threes, though. That's a lot of off the dribble threes.
Yeah, and it's a lot of like double team, like taking bad shots at the end of the shot clock. I mean, we talked to Mark about it. Mark said he's really closer to like a 35% three-point shooter on catch and shoot. So like the concern isn't as bad for them, but still we have to also factor in the 2020-2021 season was a no fan season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he had this outlier shooting year in an outlier NBA year.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people talk about like the bubble and it's like, oh, the bubble doesn't count. But like, so what about this? You know?
Yeah.
Like the 41% from three could be his like bubble number. And he's probably closer to like a 35% 3-point shooter. If he can bump that to 38, then you're talking a guy that can't. Like everybody talks about Shai as if he's already like a top 15 player. He's really not. It's probably closer to like a top 25 player, top 30 player to some, depending on who you ask. And like the couple things he needs to do is like play more games, and then he needs to shoot it better.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can do that, I mean, we're talking like a great player. Like he could be a really great player. So yeah, to me, he's number two. Like if you had good shooting from Shai and Giddey, it changes everything from where this team goes. But if like Josh is a non-shooter and Shai is just like an okay shooter, then where are we going?
Yeah. And Chet's shot looks good, but we just don't have a good sample size. We have no idea what that percentage is actually going to be.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a good shooter. I mean, he's probably number 3. Like you just have to prioritize like your big stars.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, Dort being shooting 37% from 3 would be huge too.
It would be insane.
It's basically every guy on this team. If they can just shoot,
I know. If Dort
average from 3.
Yeah, how much better would you feel about this team if Lou Dort was a 37% 3-point shooter?
Oh my God, it would change how I think about Dort entirely.
His contract would look minuscule.
Amazing,
you know.
Yeah.
Like now it's like, oh, it's okay. Does he really fit on this team? And the only reason that he doesn't quote unquote really fit on this team is because he's not a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could change that, it would open up quite a bit. Like if you had to close out to Lou, it would open up a lot because you already have a guy in Shai that has gravity, a guy in Chet that has gravity. And if Lou Dort somehow became this like mini planet with gravity,
wow,
it would be Pretty amazing.
A Pluto or a little closer than Pluto?
No. I mean, if Shai is Jupiter
Yeah,
and Giddey is Saturn,
right.
no,
What's-
maybe Chet's Saturn.
Yeah, Chet feels Saturn.
Giddey is
Giddey kind of feels like a Mars to me.
wow. That's smaller than Earth.
Well, that's kind of the gravity that he has.
Yeah, as far as gravity, yeah, he may be more of a Mercury guy.
Yeah, maybe he can get there.
I think we hope he can be
We should rank players by planet based
Yeah.
on how much gravity they have.
Yeah, exactly. Who's the sun in the NBA?
Steph Yeah.
is the sun.
Steph is the sun.
He's got the most gravity. He's pulling it all together.
Steph, I mean, like defenses just they try to rotate around him.
Yeah, they do.
We need to work on this.
And he's a flamethrower. He's a big ball of fire.
He is, yeah. He can get hot and quickly. He's always hot.
Yeah.
All right, we'll work on that one and get back to you.
Yeah,
on a
we'll work
future
on
podcast.
the planet bit when we have more time. I mean, and then obviously guys like Usman Jang and JRE, like they could definitely use some help, and Poku could always use help. But
This is oh my god. Who's most excited about Chip England being hired?
most excited, I think it's got to be Josh.
Yeah, I could see that. I think it's Josh.
I think Josh wants to be a really great player.
Mhm.
And he knows that the 3-point shot is standing in his way. And if Chip can Kawhi Leonard, Josh Giddey,
Oh my
you know,
god.
I know it didn't feel right whenever I was saying it, but Kawhi is a 38% 3-point shooter for his career.
That is crazy.
And the reason that he fell to 15 was like he's a outstanding defensive player, but he just can't shoot it at all.
Yeah.
And out the gate, he was able to shoot it because of like some stuff that Chip told him. So
He just has the magic, huh?
we're about to find out.
Kawhi's also such a robot that it's like if you input the right data into his computer, then it's just gonna work from now on.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. Kawhi at San Diego State shot in his freshman year 20% from 3, and his sophomore year 29% from 3. He was a 72% from the free throw line guy his freshman year and 75% his sophomore year. So that says something about him. His sophomore year, he was 15.5 points per game, 10 boards, 2.5 assists, a steal, half a block.
Only 1 steal and half a block.
That's still pretty sick. 15, 10, and 2.5 assists.
It is, but you just think a guy like that in college would just rip everyone.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, 1.4 steals isn't nothing.
No.
He just didn't get that many blocks.
He should have been better. He could have been better in college, though. I'll always hold that over him.
Only 45 career blocks in college.
That's why he fell.
Well, how many blocks does he average in the NBA per game?
Are you asking me?
For his career, yeah.
For his career, I'm going to say 0.9.
0.6.
Really? What, steals are over 1.5, though, right?
1.8
Yeah.
steals. His 4th season in the league, he averaged 2.3 steals per game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's only 2 seasons, he's averaged 1 block a game. When he was 24 and then when he was 26. But when he was 26, it's only 9 games because he got hurt. So pretty wild stuff.
Cool.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Thunder drafted Chet Holmgren. We both believe we both believe he's a center, yes?
Yes, center. Unless center for now. Center this year.
until Victor comes next year
Yes.
and he's on the
I've been
team.
watching a lot.
Is
of
he
Victor
is he a center though?
Who? Victor?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't call them centers anymore. They're both on the floor.
Yeah.
And this is
I know
how
he's
you
the
play.
biggest guy, but there's also like part of me that's like, man, is he just not a forward? I just thought that when I watched
I mean,
him.
defensively though, he seems to be a center.
Yeah. So does Chet though.
They do. 2 centers. Let's just have 2 centers.
Twin Towers.
No.
Thin Towers.
That's the true Thin Towers.
Yeah, that's the
If
true
we're gonna
Thin
do
Towers.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still uncomfortable with the name
So
and when it's playing off.
yeah, definitely. I was thinking, what does Chet have to do to become the greatest center in franchise history?
Not much. Let's go through the top. You have a list, right?
I have some honorable mentions.
Mm-hmm.
Moses Brown, who you may laugh at Moses Brown.
I don't even laugh. I felt no emotion when you said that.
But Moses Brown averaged 8.6 points per game, 8.9 rebounds, and a block per game.
Wow. You still would not think of. I didn't even think of him when I think about Thunder centers.
Yeah.
He doesn't count.
Mike Muscala. He shoots the ball pretty good.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Cole Aldrich, honorable mention.
Cigar.
Cole Aldrich, you want to guess his career averages?
No. 2.
The height of his powers with the Thunder, he was averaging 2 points, 1.8 rebounds, 0.6
He never
blocks per
played
game.
though. He never played.
Yeah, he played 6 minutes a game that year.
Yeah.
Now, if you extrapolate that to per 100%, I'm just kidding. Mitch McGary,
Oh, he had the
honorable
chance.
mention.
He had the goods. If he wanted to be the greatest center of all time, he could have been.
He could be number one on this list if he had, let's say he kept his talent, but he just had Cole Aldrich's like personality.
Yeah. Oh.
He would have been, I think he had a really good chance to be number 1 or number 2 on this list because he was really fun.
Before Chet, like just skill, he is the best center. He's the most skillful center that we've ever had.
Per 36 minutes, which is a horrible stat for a situation like this, but I'm going to use it anyways.
Hey, welcome to the podcast.
Because it's July 29th. His rookie year, per 36, 15 points, 12 boards, an assist, a steal, and a block.
Yeah, I mean, you could just watch him. He was one of those guys, you just watch him play, and that guy's really, really good.
He could handle a little bit. He could pass it a little bit. He's an outstanding rebounder. He could score. He had great touch.
Yeah.
But is he
a nutbag? Is that what you call
Is he
people?
the number 1 nutbag of the Thunder of Thunder history?
No, you have Robert Swift in there.
Yeah. He's like, I feel like he's in a different category though.
Yeah, like not dangerous and violent.
I was just gonna say like lawbreaker.
Oh,
Yeah.
You could say that. Robert Swift was
McGary.
criminal.
Yeah, he's a criminal. McGary's pretty harmless.
Yeah, I think so.
I would never trust Mitch McGary to do much for me, but I don't think he's gonna try to hurt anybody.
We all knew Mitch McGary in high school.
Oh yeah,
we all knew
there were several.
Yeah,
at North, there were Mitch McGarry's just floating around everywhere.
I know.
That was the first Thunder player that Luke and I spoke to outside of a press conference. Luke went with me.
Yeah.
To media day, and we both stopped and talked to Mitch McGary and got him to do the intro. He was super nice and just like, oh yeah, hey, Every time you like interact with him, he acts like he had just woken up.
Oh,
whoa, hey,
whoa.
No, he's great. Hasheem Thabit, honorable mention.
That's a good honorable mention. I have a lot of respect for Thabit. So he's probably number 1 in honorable mentions so far for me.
The Thunder was the last franchise he played games for.
Really?
Yeah.
I will say this. He was not bad here. Actually, I would say he was good in the role that he played.
Yeah, his first year, he was not bad per 100 possessions, which you should never use under any circumstances, especially on a podcast. But we're going to use it because it's almost August. 10, 13, and 4 blocks a game.
He was great.
So if they just gave him 100 possessions,
They should have.
that's what would have happened. Yeah, I feel a little bad for the Beat. If the Beat was just drafted where he should have been at like 24, like no one has any feelings about the Beat.
Actually, I think you'd have positive feelings about that.
Yeah, you probably would. And he probably wouldn't have been put in positions to absolutely fail.
Right.
You know, he would have
Yeah.
started as like a backup center, and like he could have been Boban. And like Boban's like way more skilled than the Beat ever dreamed of being. Like you could have similar feelings.
Yeah, he could have been the center that just comes in and you just say, hey, go get blocks and rebounds. And he would do it. And he'd be great. And he'd be a crowd favorite because he'd tweet in all caps.
Tweet in all caps. That's right. The Beat was a giant, 7'3".
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. Okay, getting into the real players. What about maybe Sabonis should even be honorable mention just because he was only here a year, but he did play on this team. He put up some stats. He didn't play. I mean, he only played power forward for us.
You can't put him on the real list because if we're talking greatest centers of OKC franchise history,
I know he shot.
You've got to have some years.
He's an honorable mention then.
Yeah.
So honorable mention, Domantas Sabonis. He averaged 6 points, 3 boards, 1 assist per game. He shot 39% from the field that year.
That is surprising.
He's shot 50% from the field in every other season.
Yeah.
50 or more. He almost shot 60% in 18-19.
That was Russ's fault that year, though. Moving on.
It was absolutely Russell Westbrook's fault. He was mortified to play with Russell Westbrook that year, which a lot of people were. Yeah. That's honorable mention. Okay, real one. Enes Kanter.
Yeah.
He is number 3 on the list.
Number 3, huh?
Yeah.
You're putting him above Nanad.
I guess Nanad, does he belong on the honorable mention then? He does.
Who, Nanad?
Yeah. Or should he be number 4?
I think he should be on the list because he has history.
Yeah.
Like there's history with Kursic.
Yeah. Also, just like the amount of hoops the Thunder had to jump through to get him from Russia to the United States is like pretty wild.
It's cool.
But yeah, Nenad Kristic in his first year with the Thunder, 9 points, 5.5 boards, half an assist, half a steal, 1 block per game.
Great job.
46% from the field. He's a guy that you feel like if he was in the NBA today, he would shoot threes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think?
Yes, definitely.
He took that LaMarcus Aldridge 2-point shot a bunch.
He did. There's just I remember because he was the center during that first era of young Russell Westbrook and KD.
Yeah.
So I don't know. He holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah. Even search for Enes Kanter on Basketball Reference. Why is this not working? Oh, it is. It's
Freedom.
like straight up as Freedom in here now.
Yeah.
You can't even search for it. You should be able to search for it though.
I don't know. It's not his name.
I mean, he has only been in his Freedom for 35 games of his career, of his
That's his name now.
800 game career.
Is it Ron Artest or Meta World Peace?
I mean, you should be able to. I mean, I would just argue it's not even wrong. It's not even Meta World Peace anymore. It's something else, right? But it is Meta World Peace in Basketball Reference. I just think you should be able to search for it and it come up as Enes Freedom, even though you're typing Kanter. You know what I mean?
You're probably right. Let's send an email. Send an email to Basketball Reference.
I need to. So I remember when they traded for Kanter, we had like Brooke Lopez, aspirations. We thought that's what was happening. Everybody thought that's what was happening.
It was trade deadline. We were watching ESPN. I thought it was Brooke Lopez.
We were totally locked in on the Brooke Lopez for Reggie Jackson swap. And then at the last minute, they trade for Enes Kanter. And it felt disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to do this dance where we're trying to talk ourselves into Kanter over the years. They end up paying him like this $17 million contract where it was a big overpay. Like they're paying Dort that today, but it's not anywhere close to what it felt like for Kanter.
No, especially when you knew he was going to be a backup center.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Or was there not? Am I misremembering this? Like, was there not a time when we thought, okay, Enes isn't really the backup. They just have a center rotation. And it's kind of like co-center between Enes and Steve.
Yeah, it was. He felt like the backup.
Okay.
Steven definitely felt like the starter. When he was traded to the Thunder, it was during like that horrific season where everybody's out and hurt. Like Russ came back at the end of the season. I have like very vague memories of this. But here's Enes Kanter's in his 26 games after the trade deadline. Here are his averages. 18 points, 11 boards, an assist, half a block, half a steal.
Yeah, he was so good. I remember really noticing him because he was easily the best offensive big guy.
Crazy
we'd ever
touch.
had.
Crazy touch around the rim. Out, just an insane offensive rebounder.
Yeah.
He just could not defend.
That
You
was
know,
the only thing, man.
It was the thing.
If he could defend, that may have changed his trajectory on his life today.
He might still be the starting center for the Utah Jazz because he would be one of the best centers in the NBA.
Yeah.
Still today. Because Enes is he's only 29.
Enes was a bucket, man. He was a bucket.
He was. I had forgotten that he was 18 and 11.
I don't remember it being like that.
18 and 11. We just had too many NBA smart guys in our ears telling us about his defense.
Yeah, we did. We loved him though. I mean, there was 2 or 3 years there with Enes that
he was really fun. One of the greatest moments in our podcast history involved Enes.
Which one?
It was after his first season here. It was I stopped Steven Adams in the hallway at media day to get him to do the intro, and Enes walked by, and Steven grabs him by the jersey and pulls him over and says, "Do this with me."
Oh yes.
And then they did like the legendary.
That's true.
Saying, "Now this is Steven Adams," and then Enes goes, "And this is Kevin Durant."
Yeah.
It was so great. It was so funny. Shout out to Enes Kanter. He is truly a gem.
Yes.
And maybe the more I talk about him, the more I just want to put him higher on the list. But I don't know if I can.
You can't.
Number 2, Kendrick Perkins.
Yeah.
The numbers are not impressive, but that was never the point of Kendrick Perkins. He was brought to this team to be an enforcer and to be an answer for the Spurs and the Lakers and the Grizzlies. And a lot of people dog on Perk because he was part of the reason that we couldn't compete against Miami.
Mm-hmm.
He was part of the reason why this team's like rotations became prehistoric, basically, when competing against the Warriors.
I can blame Scott Brooks more than Perkins for that, though.
Yeah, I agree. One of his nicknames, he
Perk Daddy Delish.
He has 2 nicknames on Basketball Reference. One of them is Perk.
Okay.
The other one is Swamp Thang.
Swamp Thang?
Yeah.
That must be early.
I've never heard anybody call him Swamp Thang. His first season with the Thunder, he averaged 5 points and 8 rebounds per game.
Did not care about his point scoring that much back then.
All
I remember is
that was the most points he scored ever in his career with the Thunder.
Yeah.
Was 5.
I do remember when we got him, I was so excited because I was like, oh my God, this is the guy that people say him being hurt in game 7 of the finals was why the Lakers won that series,
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is exactly the guy. Because you're coming off of Nenad, basically, who was defensively nothing.
It was Nenad and Jeff Green.
And
like that's your front line.
Yeah.
And it was like, we have the softest front line in the NBA.
Yep.
And that changed pretty quickly when it became Perk and Surge.
It did. That was a big deal. And he did actually change the mentality of this team.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, they got tougher. They did.
Yeah, and also we're learning now through like the personality issues of the Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden players that they really kind of needed a personality like Kendrick Perkins in the locker room.
Mhm.
Like Kevin Durant is not a leader, and like openly doesn't want to be the leader of a team.
He says he's not a vocal leader, but
Yeah.
he leads with his game.
Yeah, and that's great. You need both. You need a vocal leader and you need somebody that's going to lead by example.
Yeah.
And he's the best player on the team, but you do need guys that are going to lead with their voice. Perk did that. He was a fun player while he was here. He was a necessary piece to what could have. I mean, they could have won a championship. There were just things that went against them. They had like the Serge Ibaka injury.
Russell
Westbrook injury. Like they just had things that went against them to where like they could have definitely won, with Perk there. It was just they had some bad luck.
Yeah, Perk is kind of like I know everyone dogs on Perk now.
Yeah.
Perk was good for this team. He was good.
He was good. Number one center in franchise history. It has to be Steven Adams. Yeah. He never put up crazy stats. So in the 17-18 season, maybe 18-19, he was almost 14 points, 9.5 boards, 1.5 steals, 1.5 assists, and a block per game. Like that's pretty good.
That's really good.
That's pretty good. That's better than what I remembered. Yeah, that's a really good player. And then it kind of went down from there. But he had a couple of really good seasons, and you would have thought, really, I mean, he was 24 and 25 when you put up those stats.
Mm-hmm.
You really can project, like guys usually just get better, but Steven he just didn't care that his body was getting destroyed. And that has been like the downfall of Steven Adams, is that he plays hurt all the time. He gets hurt all the time because he's just like so physical.
Mm-hmm.
And that was his calling card from like day one. They beat Memphis in that playoff series. Steven was such a huge part of it. And he was a rookie. He's a 20-year-old rookie. And, do they get past Memphis if Zach Randolph doesn't punch Steven in the face?
Probably not.
Like there's a chance they don't.
Yeah.
And like that is a big failure.
Here's the thing about Steve too. He obviously is very, very skilled, but offensively, he's very, very skilled too.
Yeah.
He just did not care about scoring. And he said that. He's like, I do not care about scoring.
That's so true.
And there were times when, that's kind of admirable and respectable.
Mm-hmm.
But there were times that it was very frustrating with him where it's like, please care about scoring right now, because that is what you need to do right now. Yep. We know you can do it. You have great touch. If you were just more aggressive, that's like what we would get mad about with him, was be more offensively aggressive.
Yeah. And he won't be. He never will be.
No.
Yeah. Even you Memphis fans, that you're seeing him shoot corner threes now, and like don't fall for it.
No, not happening. We already saw it.
It's not going to happen.
Remember, there was a preseason game, the very first play of the game.
Oh my gosh.
Steven open in the corner, swishes it. And I just saw a video this summer of him shooting threes, and he's swishing everything. And like we had always known that about Steven, though. He was a good jump shooter.
Oh, we had been hearing for years. Like, just wait, Steven's going to shoot corner threes. Steven's going to shoot corner threes.
But it's just some inside info. It's him that would not allow himself to take those shots sometimes. He said, I'm not bringing anything to the game unless I'm like 90% efficiency in practice on it. Or 90. If I'm making this 90% in practice, then I'll do it in a game.
Yeah. Yeah, he would. Yeah, it's psychotic.
Yeah.
He was obviously not the number one center, but also like the number one personality of anybody. Like, he was the greatest. And it's sad that he's not on the team anymore. It's sad they didn't use him more for stuff like in the arena, or let him do more interviews. Like, what Steven Adams interviews like do you think of when he was with the Thunder, where you're like, oh man, this was great when they did this. Like it was honestly, it was like the Anthony Slater Stash Bros interview
Yeah.
that they let him do.
The best Steven content was actually from like writers from, I don't know if it was Grantland back then or The Ringer or like ESPN.
Yeah.
When someone saw, oh, this Steven Adams guy is really interesting.
Yeah.
And then they would just talk about him. That was the best content. It wasn't necessarily from
Yes.
something that the Thunder pushed.
Yeah. Fred wrote that piece about like his feet a
Right.
couple years ago.
Anything about him was interesting.
Yeah. He's the greatest. So Chet has to be better than that crew. He's got a good chance to do it. But you do kind of forget some of the stats that guys like Steven and Kanter put up.
Mm-hmm.
And so statistically, you would think that he could do it pretty easily, but it's honestly a little bit taller of a mountain than I thought it would be like before we started like this exercise.
That's true.
But to fit, like he has the chance to like have the offensive game of like Kanter and like the defensive game of Steven inside the skinniest body that you've ever seen.
I'll love to see it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it.
I think you could do it. All right, we'll be right back after this quick break. And we're back after that quick break. You got a taste on this factoid victory?
St. John's factoid victory victory. St. John's factoid victory victory.
Jay in the chat, which is not Jay on this podcast because he quit. It's I'm just joking when I say that too. He says when Steven was asked about Kanter after he was traded, and he said he's not dead. He's not dead, mate.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny.
That's very funny. Hey, I'm Tayshawn. This is my victory. All right, a couple contract things have been in the news lately. I think they both came out yesterday.
Yeah.
One, the Zion Williamson, the weight one.
Yeah.
Okay, so the details are, hold on, let me just read this real quick. According to league sources, Williamson's contract stipulates that he will have weigh-ins periodically throughout the entirety of his new deal. The sum of his weight and body fat percentage must be below 295. If it is not, the amount of guaranteed money in Williamson's contract can be reduced. I've never heard of, actually, I have heard of that before, but now I'm blanking on who the player was. Who was it that kept coming into camp too fat? And, Boris.
Oh, Boris Diaw.
But did they do that in his contract?
I don't know. There's guys that should have had it in the past. Boris is
Right.
definitely one of them.
Ty Lawson, I think, was one for a while.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's very interesting. And then you had Kyler Murray on football. Did you
Yeah.
hear about this?
A little bit. I'm so unplugged from the rest of the sports world sometimes.
Well, I'll just give you the quick summary. Basically, they said like he has to do he had something in his contract that said he has to do more independent like studying of the playbook and football stuff, and
okay.
video and all that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he got really upset about it and had an impromptu press conference yesterday and talked about how disrespectful it was and all and whatever.
Amazing.
And then they took it out of his contract. This was all just yesterday. He's kind of a whiny baby, Kyler. Anyway, so that just got me thinking about, okay, if we had contracts, what would be the stipulations in our contracts? Like what do we struggle with? What would we struggle with?
Cereal consumption.
I was actually gonna say for you it would be cereal.
Yeah, they'd be like, man, you can't do a bowl in the morning, a bowl at night.
Yeah.
Like that's just not okay.
Yeah, that's like some Derrick Rose stuff where he ate candy all the time.
Yeah.
That would be your thing.
Yeah, Lamar Odom.
Yeah.
I think his
Well,
nickname.
which one was for Lamar Odom?
Candy.
Yeah.
He had tons of candy too.
Yeah.
Just like Skittles all the time. Yeah, that would probably be mine. I'm trying to think what else it would be where they're like, you got to stop doing this. No, it's probably cereal. Yeah.
It's probably cereal for you.
What
For
about
me,
you?
it would be like, dude, you have to work. You have to like work out more, or like you can't throw up every time you play. You can't throw up because you're out of shape. Because I would always look in shape, and then they'd run me out there, and I'd have to go throw up in a trash can. That's probably what mine would be.
Do you work out at all?
I play pickup. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm just so bad at work. If it's not fun to me,
Yeah.
I will not do it.
Yeah.
I'm just not I'm not going to do it.
Ever been to like a workout class?
No, I won't commit to something like that.
Yeah. It's easier to do a workout class because they just tell you what to do and you do it.
Mhm.
And you don't even have to think.
I just don't want to drive. I would never be able to just drive myself there. You know,
Yeah.
if I was in the NBA and it was, then of course I would do it because
Yeah.
it'd be part of my
Well,
job.
you'd have a coach just like say, do this, run this,
Yeah.
do that, but whatever.
But like things that I've never been good at being disciplined about.
That's why these guys hire trainers. Because like that's the thing is like being disciplined is hard for everybody when it comes to stuff like this. Like these guys hire like professional trainers and it's their job to make them do this stuff because like as humans, like most don't want to just do that. I know like very few people in my adult life that just work out for the love of it and just do it like every day. I know I can think of one guy in my head right now. It's like, yeah, that guy he just works out because he does. Everybody else, it's like, man, we gotta have some kind of motivator here or there, or somebody telling us what to do, or whatever.
Yeah, it would also be probably something about me not being involved in other projects, like too many other projects.
Yeah,
I think I would get like way too interested in all the other things around being a basketball player.
Yeah,
and then be like, okay, you have to be a basketball.
I've had a hard time saying no to a lot of stuff. I'm learning. Yeah. I'm learning to say no now, but like before, it's like I still say yes to probably too many things with work. But well, sometimes you have to. Okay,
Take John's factoid figuring victory. Take John's factoid figuring victory.
We're going to answer as many Twitter questions as we possibly can here in the next 3 minutes.
In 3 minutes. Okay, rapid fire.
Twitter questions.
This is going to be half of our Twitter questions.
You got questions and you ask them on Twitter. Now we answer them for you. This is Twitter questions. Now let's get down to it.
All right, our first Twitter question comes from @MassyDT. He asks, in the offseason, do you indulge in any other sports?
No.
I don't either.
Basketball has a lot going on in the summer.
Yeah. At Me Love Thundamo, Chip England has a reputation for being a shot fixer and was called in to be the quote-unquote fixer. What is the special skill each of you would be called in to fix?
Probably media stuff, like how players are talking to media. I think I would do media training. Communication.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I'm not the best communicator, but I'm good at seeing if other people are bad, and then I can tell them.
That's a great answer. At Thundereth Up, she says, what path did you take to get into press for the Thunder? Can we win the chip now? So this is a play on Chip England's kids' names are Press and Path. And she put it all into one little sentence.
Great job on that tweet.
It was great. It's a great tweet. We really like that tweet. At J Langford writes, does the Thunder have an assistant GM? And if not, is it going to be Vince Rosman? No, Vince is not an assistant GM. I would say so. Pulling up like the
that's interesting
Thunder
because I did see
executives.
tweets that he is now the assistant GM.
Who
I'm
said that?
confused. See, hold on. Maybe I was just seeing tweets from people that didn't know what they were talking about, and they were just saying that.
Yeah, I mean he's like, I mean you could say he's an assistant GM if you really want to, but like he's not. I wouldn't say that he's an assistant GM. It's like Sam and then like Will Dawkins and Rob Hennigan are like the next guys. Those are they're both VP of basketball ops. So if like they have they're not called assistant GMs, they're called vice president of basketball operations, and it would be Will Dawkins and Rob Hennigan. Will Dawkins is a guy who held the job that's below Will now. But those are like the two like main guys. So like Sam is like the executive vice president and general manager is his title. But the guys that are like his right hand men are definitely Rob Hennigan and Will Dawkins. So those would be the quote unquote assistant GMs. Okay. So at _Gray Chicken _ if Chip England is a pioneer of naming children, what would each of you be the pioneer of?
Oh man.
We're both pioneers of Thunder podcasting.
That's true.
Let's see. At 69 and then some.
Whoa.
How can I calm my anxiety?
I need to know more about that Twitter handle.
How can I calm my anxiety over Oklahomans not wanting to invest in this team? He's talking about the arena, voting for the arena. I would say that there's a vocal minority that's just loud and just wants to talk and wants their voice to be heard just because they like to hear their own voice. And this is going to pass and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
that's what I would say when it comes down to it. At SF Demler, do you think that teams are going to try harder against the Thunder this season, specifically trying to body Chet in the post, which we could see the defensive rating go down instead of up like everyone's projecting?
I mean, I can see players trying to take Chet just because it's Chet. It's a big name. He's on Twitter a lot. He's in media a lot.
Yeah.
He's talked about a lot. So players are going to try to get him.
So, I mean, last year they saw Isaiah Roby jumping at center for us. And this year they're going to, or Mike Muscala jumping at center for us, or Baisley jumping at center for us. Now this year they're going to see Chet surrounded by Giddey and Shai. I think it's a good argument that teams are going to try harder against this team, because there were first halves and second halves where like you saw teams like give up because they're like, oh yeah, we got this in the bag, and the Thunder wouldn't stop. So I think it's an interesting one. At Not in Public Ed, as a burned believer in Yi Jianlian, can you share more about your comparison between him and Ousmane Dieng? As a believer, should I be getting pumped, or as a burn victim, should I be lowering my expectations? I just think like Yi was like this like non-physical, great offensive player coming out of China, and Us is like this non-physical, great offensive player coming out of France. So like those are like the comps, you know?
Yeah. So same guy.
So I would just caution you to on expectations for Ousmane Dieng.
And it's like you don't have to have high expectations for a guy like Dieng, because you have actually very good players that you know are already very good that you can watch. And
if it works out, great. Like you're in the money. 2 more questions. At Pepsi United wants to know who plays more minutes this year, Dieng or Wiggins?
Wiggins.
At Zach Deeg, for Andrew, theoretically, would you rather a major OKC trade break on your wife's birthday or your anniversary?
Well, your wife's birthday is your birthday.
It's basically the same day, though, because like we're both celebrating it both for one another.
Right.
So it just like doesn't. I've thought about this because my wife and I have the same birthday.
My wife.
I would just say it doesn't matter. Like both would be equally annoying.
Yeah.
So.
Because it's not just her day, it's your day, bro.
But also, they're both in May, and it's after the trade deadline, and like during the playoffs, and trades usually don't happen then, so it's never happened. Yeah. Playoff games have occurred on both our birthday and our anniversary, so those would be like the bigger deals, but not for now. All right, thanks so much for listening to our podcast.
Bye.
We'll be back on Monday.
Bye. All right, thank you for the breakfast and the coffee.
Welcome.